Meknès is one of the four imperial cities of Morocco, located in northern central Morocco and the sixth largest city by population in the kingdom. Founded in the 11th century by the Almoravids as a military settlement, Meknès became the capital of Morocco under the reign of Sultan Moulay Ismail, son of the founder of the Alawite dynasty. Moulay Ismail created a massive imperial palace complex and endowed the city with extensive fortifications and monumental gates. The city recorded a population of 632,079 in the 2014 Moroccan census. It is the seat of Meknès Prefecture and an important economic pole in the region of Fez-Meknès. Etymology: Meknès is named after a Berber tribe which was known as Miknasa in the medieval North African documents. History: Early history. Volubilis, a major Roman-era settlement in Morocco and one of its early urban centers, is located near the site of the current city of Meknès. The current city and its name, however, originate with a Berber tribe called the Miknasa, originally from the Tunisian south, who dominated this region and much of eastern Morocco as early as the 8th century. Some sources attribute the effective founding of a settlement here to a group of small Miknasa villages known as Minasat al-Zaytun in the 10th century. The Almoravids founded a fortress or fortified settlement just south of these villages after conquering the area in 1061, originally called Tagrat or Takrut. 176. Some sources attribute the founding of the city of Meknès to this Almoravid foundation. The city's first main mosque is in turn believed to have been first built by the Almoravids in the 12th century. The Nejarine Mosque, often reputed to be the oldest mosque in the city, also dates back to the Almoravid period. 212 to 213. The fortress resisted the military advance of the Almohads, who destroyed the city after a long siege in the 12th century. However, at the beginning of the 13th century the Almohad Caliph Muhammad al-Nasir rebuilt the city and its fortifications, as well as its Grand Mosque. The city enjoyed relative prosperity in this period, before being conquered again by the new Marinid dynasty in 1244. The first Kasbah of Meknès was created afterwards by Sultan Abu Yusuf Yaqub in 1276 CE, the same year that the citadel of Fez el-Jadid was built in nearby Fez, the new capital. During this period, Meknès was frequently the residence of Marinid princes and especially of viziers. 55. The Mosque of the Kasbah was also founded and first built in 1276. The Marinids also carried out major restorations to the Grand Mosque in the 14th century and built the major madrasas of the city near it. The latter included the Bo Anania Madrasa and two other madrasas, Madrasa al-Qadi and Madrasa Shuhud, all built by Sultan Abu el-Hasan. After the end of the Marinid and Wattasid periods, however, Meknès suffered from neglect as the new Saadian dynasty focused their attention on their capital at Marrakesh and neglected the old northern cities of Morocco. The reign of Moulay Ismail. It wasn't until the Alawite dynasty in the second half of the 17th century that Meknès received renewed attention. Under Moulay Rashid, the first Alawite sultan to unite Morocco under his rule, Fez became the capital once more and his brother, Moulay Ismail ibn Sharif, governed Meknès. Upon Rashid's death in 1672, Moulay Ismail became sultan and chose Meknès as his new capital. In addition to his possible attachment to the city as a governor, a number of reasons may have favored this choice. 129. One may have been the fact that Ismail had to fight hard to reconquer both Fez and Marrakesh from his rival nephew during the first years of his reign, which may have rendered him skeptical towards both cities as possible centers of power. 467 to 468. Moreover, Moulay Rashid had garrisoned much of Fez with his own contingents from the Tafilalt and eastern Morocco, while Moulay Ismail was forming his own personal royal guard composed of black slaves from sub-Saharan Africa, and there may have been concerns that not all these contingents could be garrisoned simultaneously in Fez. The ulema of Fez were also particularly disapproving of his ways, including his use of slaves, and maintained tense relations with him throughout his reign. Choosing Meknès thus removed him from the influence of traditional elites and allowed him to build a fresh base from which he hoped to exercise absolute power. The threat of Ottoman attacks from the east and the increasing insecurity in central Morocco due to tribal migrations from the Atlas and Sahara regions may have also persuaded Ismail that Meknès, situated further west, was more defensible than Fez. 234 to 129. 138. Whatever the reasons, Ismail made Meknès the center of Morocco in his time, and he embarked on the construction of a new monumental palace city on the south side of the old city. Its construction continued throughout the 55 years of his reign, beginning immediately after his accession to the throne in 1672. Existing structures dating from the earlier medieval Kasbah of the city were demolished to make way. The name of the large public square in front of the Kasbah today, El Hadim, means the rubble, and came from the masses of rubble and debris which were piled here during the demolition. Labor was carried out by paid workers as well as by contingents of slaves, particularly Christian prisoners of war. Estimates on the total number of workers involved range from 25,000 and 55,000. Nonetheless, frequently told stories about the tens of thousands of Christian slaves used for labor and the large underground dungeons where they were kept are somewhat exaggerated and originate from the accounts of European ambassadors who visited Ismail's court. In reality, the number of Christian slaves was likely closer to a few thousand at most, and the chambers, popularly called prisons, were actually storage rooms for grain and supplies. 106 to 267. It was also in Moulay Ismail's reign that the Jewish inhabitants of the city were moved to a new Mellah or Jewish district to the west, near the Kasbah, not unlike the Mellah of Fez or that of Marrakesh. 234. The Mellah was located between the Old Medina, west of Place El Hadim, and the more outlying quarter of Medinat al-Riyad al-Anbari. Both the Mellah and Medinat ar-Riyad were part of an urban extension ordered by Ismail in the western angle between the Old City and the Kasbah. 54. Moulay Ismail also undertook works throughout the Old City too. He refortified the walls and built new monumental city gates such as Bab Burda'in and Bab Kemis. He also built several other kasbahs or garrison forts throughout the city to house his Abid troops and help protect the rest of the town, such as the Kasbah Hadrash and the Kasbah Tazimi. 142. He carried out renovations to the Grand Mosque in the nearby Madrasa al-Qadi, and founded the Zaytuna Mosque. Kanada Bent Bakr, one of his wives who was vizier under him, was responsible for founding the Bab Burda'in Mosque, completed in 1709. One of the last constructions before his death, carried out between 1721 and 1725, was the Hari al-Mansur, a palace on the far southern edge of the Kasbah which included vast stables. The monumental gate known as Bab al-Mansur al-Alj, overlooking Place al-Hadim, was only finished in 1732 by his son Moulay Abdallah. His son and brief successor, Moulay Ahmad ad-Dahabi, carried out modifications to his father's mausoleum during his two brief reigns and was himself buried here in 1729. Later Alawite period following Moulay Ismail's death, however, the political situation in Morocco degenerated into relative anarchy as his sons competed for power. Meknès lost its status as capital and suffered damage in the 1755 earthquake. The city was neglected and many parts of the enormous imperial Kasbah fell into disrepair. The site received only occasional royal attention in the following centuries. Sultan Muhammad ibn Abdallah, who ruled between 1757 and 1790, built a number of projects in the city. He added the Dar al-Bayda Palace in the Agdal Garden to the southeast of the main palace complex, which was later turned into a royal military academy. He constructed the Ruwa Mosque in the southern part of Moulay Ismail's Kasbah, which became the largest mosque in Meknès. 391. He also renovated and added a kuba over the tomb of Sidi Muhammad ben Isa and built the current minarets of the Grand Mosque and the Nejarine Mosque in the Old City. The Dar al-Kebira, however, was abandoned and progressively transformed into a residential neighborhood where the inhabitants constructed their houses within and between the former palace structures of Ismail's time. In the early 19th century, Sultan Moulay Abd ar-Rahman added a loggia structure in front of Bab al-Mansur which served as a meeting place for ceremonies in the governor's tribunal, though this structure was later removed. Recent history. After the installation of French colonial rule in Morocco in 1912, the French administration created a new city on a nearby plateau across the valley on the northeast side of the Old City. The capital of Morocco was moved from Fez to Rabat, further marginalizing cities like Meknès. Some traditional Muslim authorities and officials were retained, but Meknès was reorganized under a new French municipal and military regime. This also leads to a greater influence of the cities over their surrounding countryside and growing urbanization. The city became a transportation hub for people and goods traveling from east to west or from north to south across the country, in addition to hosting extensive military barracks. The population of Meknès grew from 25,000 at the beginning of the century to over 140,000 by the mid-20th century. 191 to 192. Some roads in the Old City were widened to accommodate greater circulation, but most of the new development took place in the Ville Nouvelle. The new French authorities took interest in the conservation of historic monuments in the Old City. The madrasas, for example, were restored in 1922. 199. During this period Meknès also became a center of agriculture and viniculture, led mainly by French colonists who appropriated large amounts of land nearby. Nonetheless, Meknès, like other cities, also hosts resistance to French authority. In 1937, a particularly serious and violent revolt erupts following attempts to divert the local river to benefit the French settler population during a time of food shortages for the native Moroccan population. A violent suppression of protests takes place in the city which results in 13 dead and more injured. 63. Following Morocco's independence in 1956, the changes which began or accelerated under French rule still continue to run their course. Large-scale rural migration increases the population of the city and intensifies the urbanization process. Industries develop around the city's perimeter, but at the same time the old elites and bourgeois families move away to the coastal cities like Casablanca and Rabat. These changes have also contributed to the relative neglect of the Old City. According to the ICOMOS Heritage at Risk Report of 2000, the historic city of Meknès contains insufficient drainage systems, and as a result, suffers from inundation and leakage in certain areas. Still, some conservation and restoration efforts have taken place in recent years, motivated in part by the revenues of tourism. 222 Geography. Meknès is located in a strategic position in the heart of Morocco. To its south and southeast are the rich cedar forests and mountains of the Middle Atlas Mountains with the cities Ifrane and Azrou, and more to the south are the rich oases of Tafilalt. To the west are the two largest metropolitan areas of Morocco, Casablanca and Rabat. To the north is the mountainous north of Morocco with the cities of Tangier and Tétouan. Oujda and Fez lie east of Meknès. Climate. Meknès has a hot summer Mediterranean climate with continental influences. Its climate is similar to some inland cities in southern Portugal and some areas of southern Spain. The temperature shifts from cool in winter to hot days in the summer months of June to September. Afternoon temperatures generally rise 10 to 14 degrees Celsius above the low on most days. The winter highs typically reach only 15.5 degrees Celsius in December to January, whereas night temperatures average 5 degrees Celsius. Snow is rare. Historic monuments and landmarks. The main historic monuments of the city are concentrated in the Medina and the vast former Kasbah of Moulay Ismail to the south. The most notable monuments are listed below. Place El Hadim, often compared to the Jama El Fna Square in Marrakesh. El Hadim Square is a vast plaza at the southern end of the Old City, before the main gates of Moulay Ismail's former royal palace complex. The square's name, El Hadim, means the rubble, debris, and refers to the demolitions which Moulay Ismail carried out here during the construction of his palaces. He left this open space as a public square to separate his palace from the rest of the city. Since then, the square has become the focus of various activities including evening entertainers such as storytellers, acrobats, and musicians. Mosques and madrasas. Grand Mosque of Meknès. The old city's most important mosque and one of its oldest, covering about 3,500 square meters and was founded in the 12th century by the Almoravids, although renovated multiple times since. Madrasa Bou Anania. The city's most famous madrasa was established by the Marinid Sultan Abu al-Hasan in 1335–36 but is now named after his son Abu Inan. Open to tourists today, it is one of the most richly decorated buildings in the city. Nejarine Mosque. Often reputed to be the oldest in the city, this mosque also dates back to the Almoravid period, though it has been modified multiple times. 212–213 Lala Ouda Mosque. The main mosque of the city's former Kasbah and of Moulay Ismail's palaces. It was first founded in the Marinid era but completely rebuilt by Moulay Ismail between 1672 and 1678. Its prominent minaret is visible from the adjoining place Lala Ouda. Bab Burda'in Mosque. The mosque, located near the northern gate of the Medina, was completed in 1709 on the orders of Morocco's first female minister, Kanata Bent Bakr. The mosque was the site of a tragedy in 2010 when its historic minaret collapsed, killing 41 people. The mosque has since been repaired and its minaret rebuilt. Ar Ruwa Mosque. The largest mosque in Meknès, it was built by Sultan Muhammad ibn Abdallah between 1757 and 1790. It is located near the Hari al-Mansur Palace in the southern part of the Kasbah of Moulay Ismail. Zatona Mosque. A large mosque founded by Sultan Moulay Ismail around 1687. 244 Zawiya of Sidi Muhammad ben Aissa. Also known as the Mausoleum of Sheikh al-Kamel. An important mausoleum and religious complex just outside the city walls to the northwest. Originally dating from the late 18th century but restored later. 65 Muhammad ben Aissa, founder of the Issawiya, a major Sufi brotherhood in Morocco, is buried here. He is considered the patron saint of Meknès, and his annual Musim is one of the most intense and was historically known for its displays of self-mutilation. Zawiya of Sidi Kador El Alami. A richly decorated mosque and religious complex honoring the tomb of Sidi Kador El Alami, a famous Moroccan poet who died in 1850. 179 fortifications and gates. Bab Mansur al-Alj. The most famous gateway of the city, this gate overlooks the southern end of Place El Hadim and acted as the ceremonial grand entrance to the Kasbah of Moulay Ismail. It was begun in the later years of Moulay Ismail's reign and finished in 1732 by his son Moulay Abdallah. Its name comes from the architect and designer of the gate, Mansur al-Alj, a former Christian slave who converted to Islam. It is notable for its size and its rich decoration consisting of darjwktaf motifs carved into brick, filled with colorful zellage, and topped by a long and elaborate Arabic inscription painted on tile. Bab Jama, and Nuwar. Another ornate gate located next to Bab Mansur, also called Bab al-Nuwar in some sources. Bab ad-Dar al-Kebira. The monumental gate entrance to the Dar al-Kebira Palace, dating to 1679–80. Bab el-Kemis. A monumental western gate of the city, near the former Mela, dating from 1687 under the reign of Moulay Ismail and richly decorated with motifs and zellage similar to Bab al-Mansur. 55 Bab al-Bardain, the monumental northern gate of the city, also built by Moulay Ismail and richly decorated. Borj Belkari, a bastion tower built in the 17th century as a part of the defensive walls of the Kasbah of Sultan Moulay Ismail in Meknès, Morocco. Since 2003 it holds a pottery museum. Imperial Palaces of Moulay Ismail. The palace complex, or Imperial City, of Sultan Moulay Ismail was constructed over his entire 55-year reign from 1672 to 1727. It occupies the site of the city's former medieval Kasbah and stretches over an area approximately 4 times larger than the old city itself. It was composed of several autonomous palaces along with vast gardens, religious buildings, and other amenities. The complex was also notable for its impressive infrastructure, which included a water supply system with a hydraulic system of wells, norias, canals, and underground pipes which distributed water to the royal city's many buildings. It also contained numerous monumental granaries and underground warehouses which stockpiled supplies that could allegedly sustain the city for a siege of 10 years. Below is a list of some of its main areas and monuments. Place Lala Ouda, a vast open square which stands behind Bab al-Mansur, which served as the former meshwar of the palace. It precedes the former Dar al-Kebira palace and gives access to the Lala Ouda Mosque. Dar al-Kebira, the oldest palace in the Kasbah, finished in 1679 and itself composed of multiple palaces. Its name means the Great House. It was the private residence of the Sultan and his family, connected directly to the Lala Ouda Mosque and the later royal mausoleum. The palace fell into ruin after Moulay Ismail's death, and has since become a residential neighborhood where common people built their houses amidst the remains of Ismail's massive palace walls, still visible in various places. Mausoleum of Moulay Ismail, the royal mausoleum and funerary complex of Moulay Ismail and some of his family members and successors. It was built under his reign but significantly modified by Ahmad ad-Dahabi between 1727 and 1729. The funerary complex was originally entered from the Dar al-Kebira to the north but is nowadays entered by a 20th-century gate to the south. Still considered a religious site today, it is also open to tourists. It is composed of relatively austere courtyards leading to a richly decorated indoor patio chamber, which in turn grants access to the tomb chamber of the Sultan. Kubbat al-Khayyatan and the Kara prison. The Kubbat al-Khayyatan is a standalone audience chamber or throne room where Moulay Ismail once received foreign ambassadors. Underground, right next to it, is a large subterranean vaulted space known as the Kara prison or Habs Kara. Although frequently described as a prison for Christian slaves, scholars agree that it was in fact a storage area and granary, one of many such structures throughout the royal city. Dar al-Mazin. This vast walled enclosure, much larger and more rationally organized than the Dar al-Kebira, contained extensive gardens and 2 more main palaces in Moulay Ismail's time, some of which have been restored or adapted for current use as one of the royal residences of the King of Morocco. The enclosure, generally known as the Dar al-Mazin, was divided into 2 sections. The western section was mostly occupied by the Barawiya Gardens but also contained a long narrow palace on its northern edge known as the Dar al-Madrasa, most likely another private palace of the Sultan. The eastern section, which is still entered via an ornate royal gate on its eastern perimeter, was mostly occupied by the Qasr al-Muhanasha. This palace consisted of roughly 8 large courtyards or garden enclosures and acted as both a reception palace and an administrative palace. Hari Aswani and the Saraj. The Saraj or Agdal Basin is an enormous water basin or artificial lake south of the Dar al-Mazin, which was originally a part of the royal city's water supply system. It measures 148.75 by 319 meters and is, on average, 1.2 meters deep. Next to it, on its eastern side, is an enormous structure composed of 2 parts, the House of the 10 Norias, or Dar al-Ma, and the Hari Aswani. The first of these is a monumental building of vaulted passages and domed chambers which contained a number of wheel-powered hydraulic mechanisms which drew water from the phreatic table underground to the surface, after which it was delivered into the Saraj or redistributed to the city. The second part, the Hari Aswani, is attached to the south side of this building and is made up of 22 rows of monumental arches which once held up a vaulted roof. Although frequently misidentified as the royal stables of the palace, this structure was, once again, a massive granary and storehouse. Grain was originally delivered to the building by mules who climbed onto a roof terrace and dropped the grain directly into holes pierced above each vaulted chamber. Hari al-Mansur, one of the last constructions of Moulay Ismail's reign, built between 1721 and 1725. Its name means, granary, silo of victory, but it was also known as Dar al-Mansur or Qasr al-Mansur. It is located on the far southern perimeter of the Kasbah and consists of a massive building which seems to have served as a palace, fortress, and storehouse. The basement was taken up by storage rooms while the upper floor held reception rooms for the palace with views over the surrounding area. Located next to it were the royal stables of Moulay Ismail, which were reputed to be one of the palace city's most impressive features. It consisted of horse stalls sheltered under two parallel arcades which stretched for 1,200 meters on either side of a water canal which provided water for the horses. Unfortunately, the stables have not been preserved and very little remains of them today. Museums Dar Jamai Museum, the best-known museum in Meknès, housing a number of artifacts and art objects from the city and other regions in Morocco. It is housed in a late 19th century palace with gardens and ornate rooms built in 1882 by Mokhtar ben Larbi Jamai, who served as Grand Vizier under Sultan Moulay Hassan. His family also built the Jamai Palace in Fez. Musée de Meknès, a small museum housed in a structure just northeast of Bab al-Mansur, exhibiting artifacts from all over Morocco. Outlying sites the ruins of the Roman town of Volubilis, another UNESCO World Heritage Site, are about half an hour to the north, as is the village and important pilgrimage site of Moulay Idris Saraun. Economy Meknès is an economic center in Morocco with various products from three sectors, which makes the city economically competitive and attractive for investment. Competitiveness. A December 2015 World Bank report classified Meknès as one of the three most competitive cities in Africa. Two of those three competitive African cities are Moroccan, Meknès and Tangier. Agriculture. Meknès is considered to be the capital of agriculture in Morocco. And the Saïs Plain is one of the most fertile and rich plains in Morocco, and Meknès is the center of this plain. Each year Meknès holds the International Agriculture Show in Morocco since April 2006. This agriculture show has an area of more than 250,000 square meters, with more than 60 countries participating, and more than 1,200 exhibitors. The lands around Meknès area are known to be fertile and productive. The high elevation, fertility and the fresh water of those lands favor the cultivation of fruits and vegetables, most notably, peaches, nectarines, prunes, apples, potatoes, onions and garlic. Meknès is also known for its olives and olive oil. Livestock raising, particularly sheep and cattle, is widespread. Meknès has large industrial units for milk and dairy production that fulfill most of the needs of the region. Industry in Meknès is of light type. Most of it is related to food processing, especially in the commune of Medjat, and chemical and para-chemical industry in other industrial zones like the Agropolis industrial and agribusiness zone. Add to those the textile and metallic manufacturing, which are old industries in the city. The year 2016 marks a new era of industry in the city of Meknès. It includes electrical wire, embedded systems, and automotive parts production companies. Transport road. The geographical location of the city of Meknès makes it one of the important transport hubs in Morocco. The city is accessed via the A2 expressway with two exits, one to the east of the city and another to the west. The city's Gare Routière is located west of the Medina, along with the main station for Grand Taxis. A newer station for buses operated by CTM is located near the main train station. Rail 2 train stations are located in the new city district of Meknès, with trains each hour to the east, west, and north of Morocco. Operated by ONCF, the following table lists destinations reachable via Meknès railway stations. As mentioned above, Meknès city has two train stations, and their names are Meknès Railway Station and Meknès Amir Abdul Qadir Railway Station. All the mentioned trains cited in the previous table stop by the former station, and except the first row of the table, all the remaining trains stop by the latter station. The nearest airport is Fez Saïs Airport, accessible only by road transport. Otherwise, Mohammed V Airport in Casablanca, with more international flights and destinations, is conveniently accessible by train. Public transport in Meknès is managed by the urban commune, and it consists of a large network of buses that cover all the area of the prefecture, and even outside of the prefecture, like the line 16 to El Hajeb. Taxis in the city exist in two types: small taxis with 3 places max that work with fare system, and bigger taxis with 6 places max that have a predetermined trajectory and fixed prices. Education. Meknès is home to the public Moulay Ismail University, with actually the following faculties, schools and institutions divided among 3 campuses in the cities: Meknès, Arachidia and Kenifra. In Meknès, Faculty of Sciences, FS, created in 1982. Faculty of Letters and Human Sciences, FLSH, created in 1982. Normal Superior School, ENS, created in 1983. Faculty of Juridical, Economical and Social Sciences, FSJES, created in 1993. Superior School of Technology, EST, created in 1993. National Superior School of the Arts and Professions, ENSAM, created in 1997. In Arachidia, Faculty of Science and Technology, FST, created in 1994. Polydisciplinary Faculty, FP, created in 2006. In Kenifra, Superior School of Technology, EST, created in 2014. In addition to Moulay Ismail University, numerous private institutes for higher education exist in Meknès.